So we talked about text. Now let's talk about text shadows. So here we have shadows, and this is why I was talking about transparent shadows and solid shadows, and I told you there was a slide where I'm going to show you why it's really good to use transparent. This is the exact same shadow, except for different color. I used alpha transparency here, and I did not use it here. And this looks like crap. So let's just go over the syntax. You do a left offset, a top offset, a blur radius, and then the color. So generally, if you want to make the font thicker, it's current color. Otherwise, it's this, maybe up to 0.3, maybe down to 0.1. But you probably want this. This is not editable, is it? Doesn't do anything if I edit it? No. Okay. Let's just go into whee. Okay. So we go here, and I'm just going to change it over here. That's usually the subtle text shadow that you actually want. The more I do this, the bigger I make this. Well, actually, let me do it on the bottom one. I'll just make this darker. So you can see it now, and make it red. Okay, so you see it's a hideous red shadow. That's just so you can see it, and it looks different enough from the black. I hope that you can see it. If I increase this size, you see it's moving left-right. That's the first value. That's the left-right offset. Negative, we'll move it to the left of the text. Positive, we'll move it to the right of the text. Fair enough? Make sense? The next value, you increase it. Negative number goes up. Positive number goes down. Easy enough, right? Shadow, the next one is the blur. Very blurry. Not so blurry. Very blurry basically makes it look like a cloud around it. Make sense? And then color. If I had used current color, it would have just been gray because the text is gray. And you can't really see that up there, but that's okay. I think that's enough on text shadow. You guys got text shadow? We are text shadow rock stars. Let's see what kind of crap we can make with text shadow. So this is Paul Irish's, and this text right here is actually very pretty. It looks like it's three-dimensional. And pretty is relative, but I like it. So what did we do? We actually used multiple text shadows. We put commas between all of them. And the way text shadows and background images are drawn, this one is drawn first, then this one is drawn on top of it, and then this one is drawn on top of it, and so on. So this is the last one drawn. Because otherwise, if it was drawn in this order, this one would be sitting on top of that one. Make sense? Okay, that's the important thing to remember. What's his name? John Alsop has a tool. If you ever really need a tool, I don't really need a tool. This is Paul Irish. And so that's where I got the 3D from, right? And then we can also do a WTF with all the way. So that's just using multiple shadows or dropping acid or doing both at the same time. And you can see that you can bring them in many different positions. So it's whatever. What does it mean? Okay, I think that it's a reference. Oh, what does it mean? You guys have seen Double Rainbow, right? Okay. And if you haven't, you were so 2010. You haven't seen Double Rainbow? Okay, so it's this double rainbow. It's a video on YouTube, and it's Yosemite. Those are two rainbows that appeared at the same time, and this guy was like super excited about it, and he's like, it's 3 minutes. Oh my God, what does it mean? And he starts crying, like, and it's just really like, so whenever someone says, what does it mean? People laugh, and you have no clue why, and that's why. Okay. And I just saved you 3 minutes of your life so you don't have to watch the video. I just knocked this. Is it still audio playing? Yeah? Okay. Okay. So then we have box shadows. And so box shadow, I need to change this example because it's a little bit hard. So box shadow has two values that we did not see before. One is inset, because obviously on text shadow you cannot see inset. But box shadows are boxes, so you can have inset shadows, which means on the inside instead of the outside. And then it has four values. It has horizontal, vertical, the blur, those three we know, and then the offset, or spread. So when you say, offset is the spread is a little bit hard to explain, but the blur we said was 5 pixels, so it blurs over 5 pixels. The spread actually says, make it solid of whatever color it is for the amount of spread, and then start blurring. So let me show by example. Here we have this beautiful box. It has 6 box shadows on it, and they're all outset. So let's just make them inset. I've never done this before, actually. Wow. Oh. Okay, so now we can see it. And I'm going to make a border dashed. There. So because I made it inset, so the border's out here. So it first does the purple, then the blue, then the green, then the yellow, then the orange, then the red. In the middle there, I was like, what am I talking about again? I can't remember. So we have 6 shadows. We could offset. I'm really good at making stuff ugly. This is really a masterpiece at this point. Oh, shoot. Well, we just lost all that beauty I just made. Went back to its original. Darn. Okay, so let's get rid of half of these and just do one. So we have okay, just so you know what we're talking about. So when you do inset, it makes it inside. And then if you make the left offset, you see how it brought it to one side? And the top offset, see that? I can put a negative and it'll go in the other direction, right? And so it has no blur. It only has a spread. So it is 10 pixels wide, and that's it. If I actually added a spread of 100 pixels, it would spread over the whole thing because it's taking 100 pixels to go from solid red to current color transparency. So here it's actually doing the logic. It's not using the color transparent. It's using whatever hexadecimal value you used, 0, 0. So in this case, probably 66, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Let's just make this less. Let's make it 20 pixels. And so at this point, you see that it's 20 pixels of shading, right? Because the blur is 20 pixels. And we've moved it 10 pixels in. So the shadow actually comes up to here. So the 20 pixels, you're still getting some of that shadow coming from the other edge. So those are just like, you're kind of like, why are you going into so much detail? It's because like most people don't really think about how shadow works and they just think it's a drop shadow. But if you make it equal on both sides, it will actually, like if you don't do an offset, rather, it will be equal on all 4 sides. And if we get rid of this, it'll be all on the outside, but it will be equal on all 4 sides. And when you start putting it on one side, it's when you start noticing things. And because of the offset and blur, like you can basically see, it goes to right there. Like this is basically transparent. Okay, so why don't you play with this for a minute with the idea of try to make, remember when we showed that example of the stars? Let's do stars. So rainbow after. Anyone remember what the star is? Because I don't. 2605 maybe? Oh, look at that. I do know what the star is. So then we can do, get rid of the border. Oh, this would have to be text shadow, actually. Text shadow, we have to get rid of one of these values. Be 20 pixels, 20 pixels, 0. And there, look, I made a star. Woo, how exciting. Font size, 40 pixels. There we go. So play with this for a few minutes of doing box shadows and text shadows and get the hang of it. And I'm going to take off my microphone and walk around. So text stroke is just something that I thought I would cover because it exists in WebKit. And you don't need it because we now know how to do text shadow. But you can outline text with text stroke just in WebKit. So if you're doing just mobile WebKit, in the US, if you're doing mobile internationally, you do need to worry about if you're only thinking of smartphones and tablets in the United States. You can basically just do WebKit until the Surface came out, which means you can still just worry about WebKit. Oh, did I just say that? No. I assume maybe in a few months some people. It was expensive. It was $4.99 yesterday for heavy rock. One of my good friends is the evangelist for HTML5 at Microsoft. I hope she doesn't see this video. Okay. So there are a lot of properties in CSS. I already showed you this, but it's basically, we're not covering all of this today because I'm only here today, not for a month and a half. But did want to cover, just show you that there's tons of things in the specifications that have to do with text. So if you really are interested in text, some of these are self-explanatory, like text decoration. Or let's just go into text decoration. Where are we? Text decoration line. So this, you guys know, text decoration is just shorthand for all these different things. Text decoration that we've been using has been, actually you can change the color. I didn't know that. Text decoration line. There's one where you can actually do underlined squigglies. I'm not seeing it. Where's style? Oh, text decoration style right there. There we are. Thank you. I couldn't see the word style. So you can do solid, which is normally what people do, but you can actually change it to double dotted, dashed, and wavy depending on whether the browser supports it. So there's a lot of stuff like this that you just might not have known. So when you're at home later on going through these slides, take a look at some of these. Some of them might be interesting. Peter Beverlew keeps a list of all the prefixed CSS features. That way you know which ones are up and coming because they are prefixed before they're actually implemented. So he has all the prefixed things here. And so that's a good resource.